FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 96.5 thechill.com.
WTIM. And you're listening to the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station. And the show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, along with Pizza Man, Noren's Hardware, Bob Ridings Pana, and Okanee Chop Shop. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and our guest in this part of the show is Pana Police Chief Daniel Bland. Chief Bland, thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Ray. Good to be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you as well. And it's been a couple months since we've had you on. A lot has changed in that time. A lot's been going on in Pana and is set to as well. And just in terms of call numbers, any major incidents that have come up, what are some of the big updates you have for our listeners and community members in Pana?
Yes, just to update on the calls. Normally, we do see a spike in calls summertime. We have not seen that spike. We've had normal numbers, so to speak, as far as nothing major, which is good. The slight upticks we've seen in the summertime is the domestic disturbance calls, responses, even the violation of order protections. We've seen a slight increase in those, but overall, the thefts, the burglaries, the property crimes, things of that nature has not spiked this summer, which is a good thing. So we're trying to stay focused on the crimes that affect those natures in our community. So, but overall, summer has been fairly good. We faced some other challenges with staffing and things of that nature, but we're pressing through.
Yeah, and it sounds like it, considering what you said just now, what you and I were talking about earlier, and I know you said numbers typically go up, and you folks have a lot going on in Pana over the summer. You have fireworks shows, and it seems like despite that, you didn't have that uptick.
Yeah, that's correct. Our 4th of July was on Friday the 3rd. Had a nice crowd within Pana. The sheriff's office assisted as well. The event took place out at the fairgrounds. Large crowd. Traffic flow was good. We had one minor incident, an altercation with some female juveniles, but overall it went very smoothly, safely. I'm not aware of any medical calls. We're always concerned about safety of fireworks being set off, and it was an overall safe weekend. The Pana Lake area always has a large crowd out in that area with the Pana Lake community. We spent quite a bit of time out there as well on the boat patrolling within the lake area. So it was a safe weekend. We're headed into the Popcorn Festival at the end of this month. Brings in a large crowd within the city. So we're gearing up for that, just making adjustments where needed with staffing and taking care of things.
How does when it comes to the 4th of July festival that you folks, of course, have on the 3rd, how does that compare to, the last couple years in terms of incidents there and other instances where, you folks have to respond?
Well, looking back the last several years during our 4th of July events, there were some adjustments made by the Pana Fireworks Committees and the city as far as trying to figure out a way to improve the fireworks display and show. So they made some changes a few years back to where a lot of the targeted area of good visibility for the show is more closer range of the fireworks, which brings more people into a tighter area. So people gather within the fairgrounds area so they can see the fireworks more clearly. That brings in a little bit more congestion within traffic. Naturally, there's events that goes on out the fairgrounds before the fireworks, which brings in the crowds of people and kids. But overall, I mean, we have managed things well as far as just adjusting to that difference. Our 4th of July calls, normally we do get an uptick in the fireworks complaints, after hours, later on in the evening, trying to, instill a time frame when it's, allowable and not. But overall, it's the adjustments have went pretty smoothly.
It seems like it, considering what you described in terms of the activity there. And then you also mentioned a little bit earlier the Peanut Popcorn Festival. What have the last couple years looked like in terms of activity for that one?
Yeah, that activity that starts early in the morning on be on the 25th of this month. They have a 5K run out at the high school area, starting at the track, and they utilize some of the neighborhood, the blocks around the school, so that brings in some additional traffic control and support for that event. And then the event out the park starts around 9 o'clock with several activities going on throughout the day. Brings in a large crowd. There's parking responsibilities. There's traffic control. There's also when you bring in a large gathering of people, we define that more of a mass gathering area, which we ramp up security, whether in uniform or out of uniform, just to paying attention to people, behaviors, making sure the event goes smoothly and safely. So that's a big responsibility we take on. We try to keep things, quiet behind the scenes because, oftentimes we don't want people knowing where we're at or what we're doing, just to keep an eye on things so we can intervene or, identify some type of situation arising before it gets out of control. So we're making adjustments in that area as well.
All right. So you've got the Paint a Popcorn Festival to look forward to. As for, other parts of the city of Pana, it sounds like there's been, some amount of construction going on. What's that looked like for the Pana Police Department in terms of getting involved with the traffic flow and kind of responding to incidents there?
Yes, definitely. The construction's a good site. That's the sign of progress moving forward. Repairs, the downtown Locust Street area. There's some renovations going on within, I believe, 4 buildings downtown. They're being renovated. So that's created some traffic changes within the downtown area. Also, the Route 29 project from Pana to Taylorville, that project, part of the city leading out to the outskirts of Pana, has been reduced down to 1 lane, which has really affected traffic flow in a sense. We've seen definitely an increase in vehicles avoiding that area, directing themselves to residential areas, which is playing a factor on the roadway, especially with the heat and the oil chip. You increase road traffic. That plays a factor. We've also, when you get people that are avoiding construction areas, going through residential areas, often those people are not from Pana, but they're, going through town. So we've seen an increase in complaints of speed and traffic on the West DeWitt Street area, which offsets from 29, cuts back into town. So I would encourage people to, if they do take a detour route, be sure that they're considerate of the neighborhood areas that they're traveling through. The speeds are different, paying attention to that. We've ramped up some patrol details on that. And if you go back, because I've watched it, I've been a part of it, and you're only gaining a short amount of time by taking the detour through a residential area than waiting on the traffic light for the one lane roadway. So I would encourage everybody to just be patient, pay attention, and be considerate. Things that go well within the community that will help the traffic flow and safety for everyone.
I'm curious about the psychology involved with, some of those higher speeds that you're mentioning in the neighborhood roads. Is it this sense that, like, if you cut around, then you're not going into a construction zone, you're not in an area where you would want to slow down, and therefore people like hit the gas a little bit harder? Is that kind of what's going on?
Well, it is. I mean, there's some areas they're cutting through where speed zones not marked are 30 miles an hour through residential areas. So if you have just normal traffic flow of 1 to 2 vehicles every, few minutes, if they're going around 30, it's not so recognizable because that's the speed limit. But if you have 8 to 10 cars additional within that 30-second to a minute time frame, that really ramps up traffic flow, which makes it more obvious of speeds. Congestion, and then you get a 30-mile-an-hour zone going through a residential area. Then there's a park down by that area that they pass through, Cahias Park. That's if you get a vehicle going even only 3 to 5 miles over the speed limit, which is normally kind of an area where we try to use discretion, but it affects the safety of that area when you add that amount of vehicles traveling through that area that's not normally common.
All right. So some things to keep in mind in terms of the construction there and how that's been going with traffic enforcement. You heard that from Pana Police Chief Daniel Bland. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about staffing at the Pana Police Department, and I'm sure plenty else as well. And that'll be coming up right here on the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Hi, this is Julie Sanchez with People's Bank and Trust. Hola, mi nombre es Julie Sanchez con People's Bank and Trust, and I am here to share information about our Save by Spending program. Save by Spending, round up, where we round your debit card purchase to the next dollar and put that change in your savings account. Also, our Save by Spending rewards program. You can earn cash back on all qualifying signature-based debit card purchases. Call 888-PBT-1954 and learn more about Save by Spending programs. At People's Bank and Trust, we put you and your savings first. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hi, Brian Booth at Bob Ridings in Pana. We hope you had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We're here to start the year off right. We had a huge success on our year-end super sale, which made lots of room, and we have a huge selection of fresh inventory moving forward, and we are ready for another great year of 2026. Find us online at bobridingspana.com or call us at 217-562-3986.
Compare with us, come stay with us, we're close today.
Hello, I'm Will Perkins, the new owner of Taylorville Home Source. I'm committed to continuing the local service you've always counted on, along with the same great flooring options, kitchen cabinets, shower systems, and design expertise that Taylorville Home Source is known for. Stop by 1316 East Park, online at TaylorvilleHomesource.com, or via phone at 217-824-6121. Taylorville Home Source, your one source local design center.
Finding a local job in Central Illinois has never been easier. Don't waste time driving far or spending too much on gas. Visit IllinoisJobPost.com. It's your one-stop site to find local, full-time, and part-time job openings. Best of all, it's completely free for job seekers to access anytime, day or night. So if you're ready to land a job close to home, make IllinoisJobPost.com your first stop. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. Brought to you by your friends at the regional radio stations.
There's only one Central Illinois radio station that brings you the memories of the 60s and early 70s as you are cruising down the streets of your hometown. The dial position is 98.3 FM. The station is 98.3 WSVZ. From Macon to Vandalia and I-55 to I-57, cruising 98.3 plays the hits from early Elvis in the 60s to the British invasion of the Beatles, Herman's Hermits, and many more from the 1960s. Then we swing into the early half of the 1970s with artists like the Guess Who, the Doobie Brothers, and Elton John. Every song brings back something you remember about growing up. Set a button and crank up the station, playing good time rock and roll from the Tower of Power, cruising 98.3 WSVZ.
WTIM.
And we're back on the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, along with Pizza Man, Noren's Hardware, Bob Ridings Pana, and Okanee Chop Shop. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Pana Police Chief Daniel Bland. And I want to move to a topic that sort of goes with what we were talking about right before the break. I know there's been a lot of talk in Central Illinois and certainly right here in Taylorville as well about e-bikes. And I understand you have some reminders you want to share to your community members in Pana about some of the regulations. What did you want to share?
Yes, obviously this has become a safety concern when you see the age of individuals on these e-bikes, the speeds they can travel. Our local ordinance, the only restriction on the e-bikes per se is you can't ride them in the business district area, which would be the downtown areas, usually the highways where there's businesses along the highways. So that restricts movement, but yet in the residential areas, any other area, we fall back on the state guidelines, and those guidelines for, electric scooters, max speeds of 10 miles an hour, only be on roads less than 35 mile an hour, I believe. It's must be at least 18 years of age, which we're seeing. They're so frequent. They're so familiar with families, kids using them. I encourage parents to be cautious of their kids on e-bikes on the roadways. It's not legal, let alone it's not safe at all in the visibility. Many of them sit low, so the cars, things passing through town, it can be a safety concern. But yet we understand, it's an easy way of transportation. It's new gimmicks, new opportunities for kids and things of that nature. But we still are going to enforce the laws and try to keep our roads safe when it comes to the electric scooters.
All right, so some good reminders there about e-bikes, and yeah, I know it's been a hot topic around the area. And like you said, as the technology has evolved, and now that we're getting into summer and people are going to be using them, something else that's going on a lot more nowadays: online purchases and people meeting up to exchange the goods and the money involved. And you had some messages you wanted to share about that as well.
Yes, we're investigating a couple cases where there's some online. There's always going to be scammers out there. There's information out regularly as far as being cautious on where you're sharing information to, who you're buying from. Oftentimes people feel that they're on a credible site, but then there's fraudsters out there that's creating fake accounts. So I encourage people to be super cautious who they're sharing their information with. If they are making online purchases, I encourage them to meet in a public area, an area where there's witnesses, out front of the PD. There are designated areas where if you're going to meet someone to make a transaction, that way that is it's a safer place to be. It doesn't happen often in our small communities, but there has been a few recent cases we've opened up where people have been scammed out of some money. So we're encouraging people to always be vigilant on their online sales, their online share of information, identification, banking information. Be sure not to share it with anybody unless you're absolutely certain that you know who you're dealing with.
All right, so some good tips there as well. And yeah, good to hear it then from Pana Police Chief Daniel Bland. I want to turn now to what I teased at the end of the previous segment in terms of staffing, because there's been some movement there. I know you folks recently got a new officer as part of our news rotation for today. Sounds like there have been some names going out as well. Talk about kind of what's been going on there and how you folks have been trying to handle it.
Yes, with small agencies, when staffing changes, either through retirements, transfers, it can affect operations in a major way, which we had one officer retire in March. And through the hiring process, we had 6 lateral transfer interests during the testing phases. Some of those applicants didn't qualify, and we ended up eventually hiring a new officer, Alexander Rogers. He's a Pana native. 22 years of age. He was actually a dispatcher with us for about a year, and then Litchfield PD. He wanted to be an officer, hired him over there, but eventually he wanted to come back work in his hometown, so we're excited about having him on board. But that staffing level affects everything you do, because with all the responsibilities, especially summertime, things of that nature that we've talked about, you've got to have the staffing to do that. So it's been a challenge for certain, and as everyone knows, we're not getting the number of applicants interested as in before, just with the change in profession and career and opportunities. That's streamlined the process. But we're happy to have Alex on board. He's on his own now, working the city, filling shifts like normal. So we're going to carry on. We did have a change of retirement dispatcher, and during that time we had a couple dispatchers off on medical leave, which really squeezed us tight with staffing coverage. The sheriff's office has been good to step up and provide support in our dispatch area if needed. We've had some just staffing members step in that are certified to run the center. So it's been challenging through all the changes of summer and responsibilities and crimes and things that we're responsible for, to keep things running efficiently and effectively with your staffing numbers when they do, go up and down with the transition. So, but we're happy. We're close to being back to fully staffed. On the police side, we are dispatch. We're training a new dispatcher. So we look forward to being back to normal staff for sure.
Yeah, and I'll bet it must sound quite challenging to deal with when you've got, low numbers and still a lot of coverage you need to have. But it sounds like you folks are working through it as best as possible. I've been talking with Pana Police Chief Daniel Bland. Chief Bland, thank you again for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and thank you for listening here on the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station. And we'll be back in 10 minutes with another conversation, so please stay tuned.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington.